All right, and good evening, ladies and gentlemen. We are going to be starting Chalk Talk here in just a few minutes. But thank you, everybody, for watching, tuning in. We've had a great week. We had some ups and downs in the playoffs. We're getting ready to speak about them in just a moment, just waiting on my co host. But I hope everybody is having a wonderful, wonderful Tuesday night. I hope that your teams won, and if they didn't, I am sorry. My team as well didn't win, so I know how it goes. But we'll be getting on with that here in a few seconds as I bring my co host on, and we'll get started. All right, and welcome to Chalk Talk. I'm your host, Dash, my co host, Eric, and we probably both have more passing yardage than Kyler Murray by just throwing stuff away in the garbage today. So, without further ado, we're going to get on with our playoff show. Well, let's just be honest. The winners won big.
Yeah.
And the losers did not show up. Plain and simple. I think the only two games where it was even where there might have been a few nail-biting instances was the Raiders and the Cowboys there for 14 seconds until you get bumped by a ref and knocked over. But I digress.
Yeah, late in the game. Yep. Otherwise, the first 3.5 quarters were frustrating.
Yeah. I don't even know. What a way for – I mean, that's Big Ben. That had to have been Big Ben's sayonara. What do you think?
Yeah, and, Mike Tomlin himself said that they're planning as if he's done. They're planning on it as if they're moving out. And he even said, hey, all options are on the table. Ben Roethlisberger's not replaceable, but we're going to build a good football team next year. So, yeah, all we're waiting for now, I think, is the announcement.
Yeah, I figure it's probably within the next couple of days, if not this weekend, that he finally decides to call it quits. I don't know if I would have much rather called. I mean, I don't know. I don't know if I wanted to go out on a game like that, though. I mean, that might have been the worst I've seen. Well, besides even Cleveland last year, Cleveland pretty much dominated them, and they were dominated again this year in the first round. Is it?
Yeah.
You kind of get the feel of like those NBA teams that did so good for so long, and then they start going and they make the playoffs, and then they start getting beat in the first round, and that's what I felt with Pittsburgh, at least these last two seasons.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't want to put it all on Big Ben, but I mean, some of it was Big Ben's fault.
Oh yeah.
So
yeah. You kind of get the feeling of the past, couple of years that the Steelers have punched above their weight. They had no business being in the playoffs this year. They just had no business. And if it wasn't for a wacky call by the Chargers head coach, Ben Roethlisberger would be playing golf right now. And so they didn't have any business being in there. And then, oh, by the way, the reward for being in a playoffs where you have no business being there is playing against the Kansas City Chiefs in Kansas City. Defense is flying all over the place the past several weeks. It's just, it was not fun to watch. And then a good friend of mine at work, huge Steelers fan, and he was like, I don't want this to be the way he goes out. A game like this, you want him to go out on top. They did go out on top at the end of the regular season. They went home and they thought, beating the Ravens in overtime at the end of the season is always a good thing. If you're not in the playoffs, it's a good way to go out, right? And the next thing you know, they're in the playoffs, but they're facing Patrick Mahomes and the Chiefs, who just went nuts. So, and you're right, he didn't have a great game either.
Yeah, I felt bad. I felt bad the entire time. And even at some point, the Chiefs were not playing that great, but were still winning.
Yeah.
So they weren't playing great. It's just Pittsburgh was just even worse than not great. Yeah. So,
well,
yeah,
it's the theme. I think it's the theme through all this weekend's playoff games, save the Cowboy 49er game that I know we'll get into in a minute. But the best teams won. You know, the separation occurred that we had been waiting for all season long. The separation officially occurred in the first week of the playoffs. And I think we got what we expected. Chiefs and Steelers game, frankly, I wasn't looking forward to watching it. You know, I didn't think it was going to be an exciting game. I thought it was going to be one-sided, and it turned out it wasn't. You're right. The Chiefs gave them enough opportunities. They did, or at least they didn't take advantage of their own opportunities. So the Steelers, I guess you could say, were in it for a minute, but I think we all knew how that game was going to go.
Yeah, I wholeheartedly agree. And like you said, I just wish him well. If he comes back, great. Wish him well if he doesn't.
Hall of Fame.
I think the game. I mean, not that. I guess that one didn't surprise me because, like you just said, that game was. We kind of knew it was going to probably be well in hand for the Kansas City Chiefs.
Yeah.
However, I did not foresee the Bills. Dominating the Patriots like they did. I figured we would see another. Buffalo game when they played in Buffalo where it was going to be really close and it was, but that shocked me. I mean, I'm going to be honest, did not see that coming. What was the difference in this game than the last two?
Yeah, I think it shocked the entire football world. You know, the Patriots top 10 defense, and we all witness history. The basic football fan just go sit at a bar, you know, see it in the airport, all the way to the fanatics like us that watch this stuff, that talk about this stuff, that dream about this stuff. We all witness history in that game this weekend. No NFL team in the history of ever has ever not played 1 4th down. And the Bills didn't have a single 4th down this weekend. It's absolutely nuts. And people think, oh, it's just 1 down. But, you know, we always talk about 3rd down conversion being huge. Or, you know, you want to get to that 5-yard mark on 1st down, so you only have a second at mid so that your playbook is open so that you go to the 3rd and 2 and your whole playbook is still open. They didn't have to worry about any of that pressure. I think I forgot the stats on the touchdowns, but Josh Allen only had like 4 incomplete passes. You know, almost had as many touchdowns as he did incomplete passes. The numbers in that game are crazy. It's unbelievable. But it's what you and I said at the very beginning of the season. This was the team we expected to see. And so, again, I got to come back to the separation. The Bills were absolutely the better football team going into this game. They just really were. On paper, they just really were. And, you know, the Bills, we kept saying over and over again, they weren't performing up to what they were capable of doing. They were relying too much on Josh Allen. They weren't getting the rock. They weren't giving the rock to the running backs. Well, guess what they've done in the last 5 games when they've won them all? They've opened up the running back. They've opened up the running game, which has made Josh Allen more comfortable. So, you know, we saw that we saw that separation, and I think this was the Bills team we saw, but it's huge coming up next weekend, though, right?
It's definitely a game for them. But that literally was like a TD, game over. I mean, that was literally. I mean, I don't recall a time they didn't score. I mean, I'm sure I have to go back and look at the stats again, but I feel like every time I looked up, it was a score for the Bills on their drive. And
that's exactly what it was. It was 8 drives. It was 7 drives, and then the quarterback kneeled down to end the game. That's exactly what it was. The only hiccup was the kicker missing 2 extra points. That's literally it the whole night. It's crazy.
So, I mean, we talked about Mac Jones. He's going to have a future there, and we know it. And he's probably going to be playing in a lot of playoff games. So, you're right. The Bills were this was the Bills team I thought like you said, that we had expected we were going to see all year long. At the beginning of our season when we talked about this, that was the Bills team I expected to see. But again, like I said, what we had witnessed season long until the last few games, I still figured the Patriots would I mean, obviously Belichick has playoff history. I figured he would have a little bit more for them going in, but it just felt like he was flat a little bit. So kudos to the Bills. Let's talk about the Rams, and like everybody on the team had a passing touchdown, I feel like, last night for the Rams.
including Long Jr., the cornerback.
Yeah, I feel like everybody had a passing touchdown. I chalk that up to two things. Kyler Murray's they got in his head on those first couple of drives. When you go for 3 and out on the first 7 drives.
Yeah.
You're rattled. Something is not right, and he was scared. You could see it all. I have never seen a guy jump up and Kyler Murray just drop to the ground. There was one rush where he just kind of jumped up to block the pass, like he was going to block the pass, and he fell.
Yeah.
So he was definitely on his heels and afraid last night, I feel. And then I just feel like Kingsbury did not call a good game at all.
No, he did not. And, you being a college football guy, you know that when he was at Texas Tech, he had the same issue. His teams would jump out of the gate, crushing it, beating the good teams, winning them all. And then by the end of the year, they were, there was no self-evaluation, and there was probably, you have to go back and look at every year, but there was probably no adjustments. Right. And I just don't think Cliff Kingsbury came with a good with a good plan. But even more important, the Cardinals they're just one of those teams that never can rise to the occasion. They can never learn how to win, and they don't have that pedigree in them. And we talked about it all year long about this team. Holy cow, this team could really do it. 7-0, 8-0, or something like that. And then injuries, and then they crash and burn. They lost 5 of their last 7, and going into the last week's game, and they looked flat, unprepared. When NFL football, it's different than a regular season.
Yeah,
it's way different. And the best players in the league absolutely bring it. And what happened with the Rams? Aaron Donald absolutely brought it. Von Miller absolutely brought it. We hadn't seen much of him in
that is probably the best I've seen Von Miller play in years. I'm talking years.
Yeah, he was everywhere.
He looked, first few seasons Denver Von Miller last night, and that was fun to watch. Really, it really was.
And
to see him
too.
So kudos to him.
And that just made the entire Cardinals offense was just off right from the beginning. Yeah. And to me, they seem to come out a little conservative. And Kingsbury's he's not known for being a conservative coach. They're a punch you in the mouth, all that West Coast style offense where they just run and gun and they do everything. Granted, he doesn't have a great running game. That's not established. Well, what they were doing in the beginning of the year, there's no reason why they couldn't have been doing now. Just change it up a little bit. And they did. And you got to wonder, is Cliff Kingsbury now the problem?
I feel, even my son, and like I said, getting my son into it this year, for the most part, he asking a lot of questions and things like that. And he's like, man, he's just, because he likes to play with the Cardinals on Madden. That's one of his teams is on Madden. So he'll play with the Cardinals. And he's just like, I don't understand why they're playing so bad. We've watched them all, we've watched them quite a few times this year. Obviously, Kyler Murray being an Oklahoma Sooner, they're going to play a lot of their games when Dallas is not playing. They're going to play a lot of their regional games for them. So we got to watch them a lot, and it really was. He was shocked to see that they were not playing like the Cardinals of the whole entire season. And you explained it right. You nailed it right on the head. There's playoff football, and then there's regular season football. And I don't want to. Obviously, this is Kingsbury's first year in the playoffs, not knowing what to expect. But it doesn't change how you play them.
Nope.
Per se, if you know what I'm saying. You still, you have a game plan.
Yeah.
So to see, and OBJ had a great night last night. I think everybody except the kicker, who didn't get to do a whole lot last night.
Yeah. Right.
Had a good game. I kid. But
yeah. Well, back on the Cardinals, there is 1 degree of separation. All these football teams right? We saw all year any team can win on any given Sunday, whether it's the Jaguars or the Packers. Any team can win any single game. Playoffs, yeah, the atmosphere is ratcheted up, the pressure's ratcheted up, but the coaching staff has got to elevate the players. They got to get them ready. And Kyler Murray, he looked uncomfortable. His feet weren't setting. If you look at some of his throws, he's that pointy foot sometimes was a little bit off. And he just Jalen Hurts, the same thing. These guys just did not look comfortable. And then when you get that front pressure right up the middle, no quarterback in the NFL has to like that. None. And the Rams brought it right up the middle. And the coaching staff, you got to settle Kyler Murray down. Hopefully they were telling him after the pick six, take the safety. That's way better. I'd rather give up 2 points than 5.
2 points than 7. Yep, 6. Yep, absolutely.
Yeah, 7 points. Yeah.
Yeah, I literally was like screaming there. I'm like, take the 2.
Yeah.
You got to take the 2. Your odds of giving up 9 are slim. Are slim really. To give up a pick 6, and just to be a horrible pick 6.
Oh, it was ugly. Yeah.
Yeah, it was ugly.
Like
that we're gonna get into it with Dallas here in a minute, but that took everything that Arizona did all year long and made it just like for nothing. It just like you did so good through the regular season, and to do this in the playoffs, you look like the Cardinals of old. I'm talking the Cardinals of old.
Right.
The St. Louis Cardinal type.
And it just makes you frustrated, as a fan, because all year long we wanted to give the Cardinals the credit. We wanted to say, look, this is number 1 team in the NFL, power rankings, number 1. But in the back of every one of our minds, we're like, but are they really? Are they really? And, they proved us right again. And I hate it for that franchise because there are arguments, but, some historians say that's the oldest franchise in the National Football League. Yep. Bears fans would probably disagree. But that's a storied franchise, right?
Well, the New York Cardinals or whatever they were?
Boston Cardinals.
Cardinals.
That team has been around forever. But the Chicago Bears were like, no, that's like the Browns, Ravens situation now, so they're not really the oldest. So, but gosh, the hits just keep on coming for that franchise, and it's sad, really.
Yeah,
I want them to win.
I hope this does not set them back. I hope they can look forward, move forward, get past this, look forward to next year, and build on the regular season success that they had to move forward.
Yeah, me too.
That brings us to the Dallas Cowboys and the 49ers. This is a rivalry as old as time, almost as some of these other rivalries, as far as the playoffs go. When I'm talking rivalries, playoff rivalries, 49ers out quick. How good is Debo? How good is this kid?
Yeah, he's got great speed, and I think since they've started playing him at the running back position, I think we're finding out he's got a lot more strength in the upper body. Yeah. Than we did. The speed helps keep you elusive, but when you're in the running back spot, you're going to face the defensive lineman and the linebackers a lot more than when you're at the wide receiver. So you don't a lot of times get to see the real strength and balance that these wide receivers have as athletes. And I think what we're seeing with Debo, putting him in that running back spot, that's doing pretty well. And that's turning into a 2-man tandem with Elijah Mitchell. And I don't think I know the 49ers fans may be like, that in the forums, Niners have been talking about this a lot, but I don't think many people saw Debo as a runner for a while. No. But that's an extra notch that makes him a better football player than I thought he was.
So this got me thinking, how many other teams are going to copy this?
Yeah, well, Packers did it with Ty Montgomery for a little while, and that was pretty good.
Yeah.
But that was by necessity. Elijah Mitchell.
Yeah, that was by necessity, not just.
Yeah, Elijah Mitchell is a good running back. He is very good. And they don't need him, but like I said, Deebo Samuel's making himself very useful, turning into a much better football player, I think, than some people give him credit. Me especially.
I mean, I've seen Dallas use CeeDee Lamb a few times in that H-back, slot back, up back for different runs. But I'm going to be I want to see. That's something I'm looking forward to next year, to see how many teams kind of use this technique. And just because, I mean, that dude, I watched him the last 2 weeks run through some of the strongest linebackers I've seen.
Right.
Break tackles from some of the strongest linebackers I've seen.
Yeah.
And that was some craziness. But let's talk. I mean, the Cowboys just cannot get the proverbial monkey off their back. They can't do it in the playoffs. They just can't do it. I don't know what it is. I don't, if it's a mind, if it's just, and I said, history tells me to take the Niners, and I should have. The problem was I say ours because I'm a Dallas Cowboys fan. Our entire season was erased in that last 14 seconds of that game.
Totally. Yeah.
I'm talking coach. I'm talking all the great stuff Dallas did. I'm talking Kellen Moore, everybody.
Yeah.
That last 14 seconds, I mean, I don't know. And I'm not going to blame it on the refs. I'm not going to blame it on the penalty, because the penalties did. I mean, that was literally a franchise and NFL record for penalties in a playoff game. I'll say I disagree with one penalty, and that was the one with Lawrence there at the end. They called a holding on him when he tackled. Yeah. I mean, at that point, I think he really thought he was tackling the runner, because he got spun around.
I agree.
And I really believe he thought he was tackling the runner, because it was all right there in that area. So I'll take that. The rest of the penalties were pretty. Not pretty is not the right word. I mean, they were spot on. They every one of those penalties they committed on their own. I mean, that was ridiculous.
They always seemed to be ill-timed.
Yeah.
Just always seemed to be at the very wrong moment.
So yeah, I feel like the entire guys, I love the Cowboys. Don't get me wrong, but that was indicative of what we were talking about with these playoffs for the last. I mean, whether it's the Romo fumble on the field goal or whatever the case may be, that is indicative of the Cowboys playoffs and people. I mean, all day long, all I've heard is, or at least the last 2 days, all I've heard about is this referee bumping into Dak there at the end to try to spike it, and then they ran out of time.
Yeah.
If they would play it and had not had all those penalties, that situation right there would have been a non-issue. Well, and that's what I want to get through to fans. That would have been a non-issue.
Yeah, I mean, not to mention 5 for 14 on third down conversions. That you don't win games when you don't win games when you have almost as many penalties as you do rushes.
Yeah,
almost. You have less than 30% on third down conversions. Actually, they were a little better than 30%, but still, 30% on third down conversions is terrible. And you lose the time of possession battle. Dak Prescott was sacked 5 times. Sam Garoppolo, who has finger injuries, I don't think his fingers were touched. Nope. So there's some things I'm going to say that probably a lot of people are going to disagree with me on, but I'm going to say them anyway. And I want to get to the point where you talk about how the Cowboys' entire season was wasted. You got the defensive rookie of the year, could be the defensive player of the year, if not for a record-setting sack season. You've got the comeback player of the year, Dak Prescott, ungodly, career numbers. That's wasted. The offensive coordinator and the defensive coordinator highly touted to become head coaches, and you waste it on a performance like that. So you look at a lot of things. Well, to me, the coaching staff in the week up to it, completely ill prepared. Just I don't know what the game call. I don't know what the play calling was. I don't know what their thought process was. But Coach McCarthy didn't have them ready. They didn't elevate them to the moment. This is the Dallas Cowboys. This is the most watched team in the history of the league, in the history of all professional sports, probably. and you did not have your team ready to meet the moment. Kellen Moore called arguably the worst game that I've seen. I don't. To me, the flow was wrong, and I've talked to a lot of Cowboy fans today too, and they've all told me the same thing. Kellen Moore lost a lot of credibility going into these head coaching interviews this weekend. I don't really have a problem with the quarterback draw at the end. I know what you're trying to do, and nobody in the world thought that they were going to call that play. I get it. Maybe go down a little bit sooner. I don't know, but the rest of the game, the rest of the play calling, they just seem, they just seem to be playing catch up all day long, and it was completely unnecessary. Now, granted, Kellen Moore did have to deal with a lot of second and long, third and long due to stupid penalties. I understand that your playbook shrinks and you have to become less creative. And then, oh, by the way, when you're down by 2 scores in the second half, 3 scores in the second half, your playbook also gets a little bit smaller. So I get it, but if you would have prepared your team well, you would not have been down 3 scores going into the fourth quarter. Just wouldn't have.
Yeah. And another thing, I mean, Pollard obviously, nothing against Zeke, but Pollard was obviously having a better game. And a buddy of mine, Marcus, was talking about this. And I said, I literally had a red mark on my face from slapping myself, asking myself why they were not putting or utilizing Pollard a lot more, because he was having the much better game.
Yeah.
And I think sometimes Kellen, or maybe it's McCarthy, I don't know who makes that call, but I think sometimes he just gets tunnel vision or he has star envy. I don't know what it is.
Yeah. You don't have to go further than Lone Star State to see what the flack that Tom Landry took for switching out quarterbacks in the 70s. People hated him for that. Roger Staubach, Craig Morton, those guys didn't like him for it, but he won. He rode the hot hand. He rode the matchup. He saw one guy playing well, one guy working better with the center, one guy working better in this package. He went with them, and he didn't care that he had a Heisman Trophy winner and a Super Bowl quarterback. He didn't care. He wanted to win. And, we don't see that in really many coaches today. There are some that are not afraid, but guess what? Those guys are winning. Bill Belichick, he's not afraid. Sean Payton, he's not afraid. Pete Carroll, they don't really like him. A lot of people don't like him, but he's not afraid to put the right people in. You can't be afraid. Yeah, Zeke is the best running back on the team, but sometimes the matchup matters. Sometimes the hot hand needs to be given the rock.
At some point, one of the stars is going to cry. I mean, they've done it all year long on every team. One of the stars is crying. It's going to happen. I mean, and I don't know if that's just young coaching and again, I agree with you. He kind of lost a little bit of credibility with some people. I can foresee some people stepping back from that.
Yeah, I could too. Hey, I don't think Coach McCarthy's job should be saved either, by the way. I really don't.
I do not think he should be saved.
Nope.
I'm usually against, especially in college and in certain pro aspects, I'm usually against firing even with a winning record. But you got to ask yourself, I can win 10 games, go to the playoffs, and still look like a fool and still not make the right calls. So you got to, as Jerry Jones has really seriously got to ask himself, is this the right you know what? I don't know if he is. He can win games. Yeah, we saw it. He did it in Green Bay, but Green Bay fired him for a reason too. I mean, let's think about it. So I don't know. Jerry has a lot to think about, and I think, and I hate to say this to the Cardinals fans, I think the Cardinals fans have a little bit. Not that I disagree with, not that I dislike Kingsbury, but it's something you got to think about.
Yeah, I think they're both on the hot seat come next year. Cowboys front office has already said, McCarthy's job is safe, and I don't think anybody's talking about Kingsbury losing a seat. But you're right; these guys got to be on the hot seat next year. And the Cowboys, if they don't go at a minimum to the NFC Championship game, I think McCarthy's got to go.
Yeah.
The preparation this week, the Cowboys are a much better team than the San Francisco 49ers. However, the 49ers won 8 of their last 10, and they absolutely deserve to be in the playoffs. 100%.
And that was a team that we literally, besides, I think it was Indianapolis, the Niners were one of the teams that we said were probably going to be a dark horse in this in this thing. And I mean, they could very well beat. I mean, they very well could beat the Packers. I'm not putting anything past them.
Yeah, I think I said it last week. The 49ers are a matchup problem for the Packers. They really are. So, the Packers absolutely wanted the Cowboys to win that game.
I mean, we can talk about Bucks Eagles. I think that was pretty much like the Steelers Chiefs. There's not really much. But the one I want to talk about is this call. The Raiders, the Raiders and the Bengals. Raiders making the Bengals are driving, and this either it's a phantom whistle or a non-existent. I don't know what you want to call it. I mean, I've read some articles where they said they didn't hear the whistle, but somebody heard it. Somebody stopped playing. Is this a fan issue where somebody in the stands had a whistle?
Yes. So the ref did blow the whistle. He thought Burrow was clearly out of bounds, and he blew the whistle. And I think the Raiders were complaining that the defensive back kind of stopped. And to me, I didn't see that. I think he just realized he was beat and hoped that the guy wouldn't catch the ball. And because he just did a little leap. But, to me, if you think the whistle's dead, you just stop. Right. You don't jump in the air hoping that he doesn't catch it. And but with all that being said, the refs still should not have let that touchdown stand.
I agree.
Unfortunately, even though it was a legit play, Burrow was not out of bounds. It was a beautiful play by him and the wide receiver. I think it was T. Higgins.
Yeah.
Beautiful, beautiful play. And, those are the kind of plays that we really like to watch. However, the ref unfortunately blew the whistle, and therefore they literally should have just replayed
the down,
which is what you're supposed to do. Now, again, I don't think that affected. I mean, we say they won by a touchdown, and it would have been a different scenario. But really, the Bengals were moving the ball well before that, and the execution has to stop with the Raiders stopping them, and they didn't really stop them.
I really think had they replayed that down, again, they would have won by 3 points. At the minimum, they'd have won by 3 points instead of a touchdown.
Yeah, and that game was that play was early enough in the game. It wasn't like with 4 seconds left in the game. That play was early enough in the game where you had plenty of time. This
might be the only time that I might say that it didn't. I don't think it affected the overall outcome of a game. If that's what I'm getting at. I do think it was still, and obviously the NFL handled it. It did what they did by taking the officiating crew away from the rest of the playoffs, I believe, to or at least not to officiate in the Super Bowl.
The refs are a part. The refs are a part of the game. We get that, and sometimes it's just ridiculous where you gotta call it out. But this is just part of a larger problem. And we said this earlier in the season where the referees, they're unionized, but they need to fall under the National Football League. Those guys need to be permanent NFL employees, and gals need to be permanent NFL employees where that's their life, that's their job, the training, the reviewing, everything, because there's this super high, really unnatural standard to be perfect in officiating. And for whatever reason, we can't seem to realize that you're never going to be perfect. But one thing you can do is be as close to perfectly organized as possible. And the NFL needs to bring the referees on, needs to hire them permanently, and then that's all they do. They don't go off and become lawyers and pharmacists. They just eat, breathe, sleep football.
I agree. I mean, other than that game was pretty much, I think the Bengals really had it, even though it wasn't as close as it really looked to me.
Yeah.
The Bengals really had it in hand. Congratulations to the Bengals for their, again,
31 years.
Yeah. And then congratulations to Stafford for a first playoff win.
Longest streak too. What was 186 games without a win, without a playoff win? Good for him.
So congratulations to them. All right, we're going to get into next week or this coming week's playoff games here in just a minute. I think other than normal, I think it was a really good, decent. I mean, well, I can't even say that. I mean, the two games were decent. Other than that, I mean, I wish there was a little bit more from the other teams. I really do. And I don't want to say because the Steelers have playoff history, Eagles have playoff history, Patriots have playoff. I just don't. I don't know. It's just.
Yeah.
I'm hoping this weekend will be a little bit better as far as games go. But I mean, obviously they got the seeding right. I mean, or I guess we'll say that.
Yeah.
I mean, we kind of knew with the Cowboys and the Niners it could go either way. I mean, they were both pretty much. I'm not going to say his name, but congratulations to him winning.
Come on, say it.
I cannot. I do not want to say his name.
Hey, that I still want. I want to ask this question while we're on the Jimmy G saga. He didn't have a great performance, but he didn't need to. The game plan was perfect, and Sean Payton said that over and over again about Drew Brees games where they were low. He's like, we didn't need him to perform that way. He's not going to put up 5,500 yards every game. But Jimmy G is a winner. So I want to know from the 49er fans out there, why is there talk about getting rid of him? Is it there just continues to be, and again, we've said it before, where there's smoke, there's fire. Why get rid of, I mean, I know you brought in Trey Lance. I get it. First round pick, but Jimmy G's a winner. Go with it. I don't understand that.
That's as much as I don't like him, and I think it's not his football. I mean, he is a winner, like you said. I think it's his off-field attitude that really just drives me completely insane. And I shouldn't say that because he's not even, he's not even my team. But that's a question I want to know too. Why do they want to get rid of him? He is a proven winner. I mean, hell, he went on for the most part, an 8-game win streak there.
Yeah.
So, at some point, and he's won with them before and like that. So I don't know. Because they were talking about it pretty much all the game. Well, if this is the end of Jimmy G. If he loses, if he wins, maybe he sticks around. I mean, I guess it was something to talk about. But, I mean, again, like you said, if there's smoke, there's fire. There could be something underlying in the wings that we don't know about. So
unless he's just not a locker room leader, then I understand it. You're a great performer on the field, but you don't elevate everybody else around you. Yeah, that's a problem. But that's, to me, everybody on that team is playing very, very, very well right now.
Yeah.
So he clearly can't be too much of a cancer in the locker room. I just don't understand.
I mean, if he was, I feel like they would be doing some of the olays to let some of these linebackers through on him a couple of times. If you know what I mean?
Olay.
All right. Well, I mean, again, you went 5-1.
Dang Cardinals.
You almost swept. My wife went 3-3. She did call the Rams. And that was the only one that she had different than, but yeah, man, it was a good weekend for you. So that's a good sweep. I mean, almost a good sweep. All right, we got divisional playoffs this week. No more wild card. We got San Francisco at the Packers. And that's just like we talked about. This is a team that we've been worried, or I wouldn't say worried. This is a team that we've been kind of high on as far as having a deep run. Can they get past the Packers?
Yeah, I mean, they absolutely can. I said it last week. They match up well. The run game they've got going. The passing game is going pretty well. They played them earlier in the year and did pretty well against them also. They only lost by 2 points and they didn't have everybody with them. And so they match up pretty well as long as they can handle the cold weather, and they got to figure out a way to take I can't believe his name escapes. He's only the best wide receiver in the NFL right now. They just got to take number 7, Adams, Devontae Adams.
Yeah.
If they can figure out a way to bracket him and get him out, then I think they definitely have a chance. But the Packers are just too good, and they are a cold weather football team, and they can run the ball. So I'm taking the Packers.
All right. I cannot believe I'm getting ready to say this, ladies and gentlemen.
Going there. Hey, no risk it, no biscuit, right?
You're right. No risk and no biscuit. I'm going to take the San Francisco 49ers. And here, again, I am relying on history, and I'm going to tell you why. When the Cowboys and the 49ers are both in the playoffs and they play each other, there is the winners of those games have a 71% chance of going to the Super Bowl.
Yeah.
I am actually going to rely on history for once, folks. No, I feel like they found a winning attitude with Debo in this set. And again, this is a game where as long as you control the ball like they did against Dallas, Jimmy G does not have to have a stellar game. He just has to go out there about 60% on passing, 60% of his passes, and they control the clock. I think they can beat the Packers in that aspect. And again, I just feel they have something right now working for them, and I'm going to take the San Francisco 49ers, and the Lorena took the Packers as well. So, all right.
Well, the 49ers injuries are gonna be important too as this week goes out. Joey Bosa's out, and then they have 2 other pretty key injuries.
Yeah, Bosa had a head, I believe a concussion and or head injury for sure.
Yeah, and that's a Saturday game too, I think. So he loses 1 day of protocol availability.
I'm sticking with my guns. Right? Rams and the Buccaneers. The Rams go to Tampa Bay. Can Stafford continue his winning ways and get a chance at a divisional or at the NFC championship?
I don't think it happens this weekend. We saw the movie The Program when we quoted it before, right? It's time to put the women and children to bed and go looking for dinner. Well, these boring games this weekend is exactly what happened. We put all the non-worthy teams away, and now it's time to eat. And this is exactly why I picked the Buccaneers to go to the Super Bowl at the beginning of the year. Tom Brady just doesn't. It doesn't matter what happens in the regular season. It's only for try to get as many home playoff games as you can.
Right.
It's about getting healthy at the right time, getting hot at the right time, and then performing when it really matters. And that's one of the reasons why Tom Brady deserves to be in the all-time greatest ever football player, because that's what he does, right? He's that kind of presence and that kind of leader. And that's exactly why I took the Buccaneers. And so what they did to Philadelphia was, to me, it was like a midnight snack.
Yeah, it was just a warm-up, a pre-warm-up workout. And, I'm with you. As much as I want, I'm a huge – I like the Georgia Bulldogs. If everybody knows that. We've had this. I'm a Georgia Bulldog fan. And I've always liked Stafford, even when he was in Detroit. And as much as I want him – for him to go in and win, and go all the way to the Super Bowl just to kind of slap Detroit in the face a little bit, I got to take the Bucs too. I mean, I just think you're right. Yeah. I mean, until Tom Brady leaves, the Buccaneers are the team to beat.
Yeah,
they're the champs. Just like old Ric Flair used to say, to be the man, you got to beat the man. So
beat the man, yeah.
I agree. And the Bucs, I'm not a huge Brady fan. I like him, and I don't dislike him. I think I'm not a big fan of him because he wins. Probably and I'm a Cowboys fan. So and Lorena took the Tampa Bay Buccaneers as well. All right, this is the first time if the Bengals win this game, they will be the highest seed they've ever been. I mean, like you said, the highest seed they've been in 31 years.
Yeah.
If they beat the Titans, because I believe, no, not, the Chiefs might be a little. I think the Chiefs were a higher seed than they were.
Yeah, no, the Chiefs were number 3 seed.
Oh, that's right. So if the
Or,
Bengals
I'm sorry,
win this,
number 2 seed. Chiefs were 2 seed. Sorry.
yeah, Chiefs were 2 seed. But if the Bills beat the Chiefs and the Bengals beat the Titans, then the Bengals are the
4
higher seed.
The Bengals were.
Oh,
Yeah,
4
right.
seed. Listen, I'm just not going to talk anymore. No, I'm trying to give them some credit here, folks. Listen to
Yes,
me. No.
I know exactly what you're saying. They're higher than we've seen them. Yeah, that's right. They're moving on up.
Do the Bengals continue the and let's just call it what it is, a Cinderella season for them? Do the Titans? I mean, I believe they get. I haven't heard word if Derrick Henry is back, but I know he practiced.
Yeah. Yeah. So he is. Yeah. So he's practicing. He's gonna be a game time decision, is what the Titans are saying right now. And it still kind of concerns you, though, right? That that he would. He's been out for 10 weeks.
Yeah, 10 weeks.
So, being game ready, and then if he is active, and then do you change your game plan to match him, which was, remember at the beginning of the season, that was the game plan. Run first, play action, use Tannehill when you need to. He goes down, running back by committee, Tannehill has to be the guy. And the offense change, makes complete adjustment. So, the question is, do you go back to those adjustments? It's a tough thing. Now, good thing, Coach, Vrabel's proven himself to be a good decision maker this year, so I think he probably makes the right decision. But listen, Cincinnati's a team nobody can sleep on. In Joe Burrow's exit interview, somebody said, "Hey, a reporter asked him, hey, so we think of the fans. You got that monkey off y'all's back. Ended a 31 year streak of non-playoff wins," and he's like, "Hey, look, I'm happy the fans enjoy this. But they just need to know that this is the norm." And the room got quiet. It's like, well, that's what we're here to do. This is the norm. You should expect this every week. He's pretty much a rookie this year. Right? He went out
for the most part, yeah.
So, just to hear somebody with not a lot of street cred say that, Cincinnati Bengals fans have just got to be loving that comment. And they really have proven it. They've played exceptionally well down this stretch that I underestimated. But with all that said, I think the Titans are just a better prepared team, and I think they win this game.
You brought it up, and the only thing that worries me for the Titans is with Derrick, and not that Derrick Henry couldn't come in and just, but I'm afraid that'll mess the mojo, the what they've got going. In the back of my mind, I know the Titans can win with him coming back, but in the back of my mind, there's a little thing going, this could mess up the chemistry a little bit, just a little bit.
Yeah,
we'll see. But I'm with you. I love Burrow's moxie. I think he's going to do great. He's going to, him and Mac Jones are going to go a long way in this league.
Yeah.
But I'm going to go with the Titans as well. I think they're the better football team. I really do. On and off the field, I think they're the better football team. So Lorena went with the Bengals.
That's not a bad pick at all.
No, not a bad pick. I am going to, and we took the Titans. So probably the most exciting matchup coming here. This is the one. I mean, obviously because this has yours and my AFC favorite to go all the way. Bills and Chiefs.
Yeah, this is going to be a mouth puncher right here for sure. Right?
Both had fantastic, like we just talked about. Both had fantastic games this weekend.
Yeah,
man, I think the Bills. I really think the Bills are the better team, though.
The good news, and I agree with you. I think the Bills are the better football team. And the good news is both teams they beat the brakes off their opponents, so both teams could come in either overconfident or purposely, calming themselves down.
Right.
The Bills, there's more pressure on them, but also they've got more of a chip on their shoulder, right? Losing to them last year. It's essentially just a replay. However, the Bills just have a better football team. And, if you look at the quarterback position, Josh Allen versus Patrick Mahomes. Well, Mahomes, obviously more established quarterback, better quarterback overall. But Allen has been performing better this year, or at least these last couple weeks.
Yep.
And I think what the Bills found was they found their running game that I've been jumping on my head screaming for them to find all year long, and they finally found it. And since then, they've been a better football team. And, oh, by the way, their defense is nasty.
Yeah.
So
they look pretty good. Woo, they look so good, son. I mean, man,
they were all
yeah.
It's, you got to think it's now or never for this team, right? And so hopefully they're going out with their hair on fire, leave nothing on the table mentality. I'm taking the Bills. I think the Bills win this game.
I am too, taking the Bills. I've ridden with them, and obviously we've both ridden with them through the entire season, ups and downs. We've been with them no matter what. I just think, again, like you said, I think the Bills are a better football team. I think they're playing a better game right now, and I think they're more well-rounded. I still think Kansas City still has a few question marks when it comes to playing, and I think we'll see those exploited on this weekend. So, yeah, I'm taking the Bills, and Lorena as well as taking the Bills. So that is our week, the football this week. In the off chance that Stafford if he does get past the Bucs, what's the chances of him making it all the way to the Super Bowl?
I think it's very good. If they end up playing the Packers, which we're calling that they probably would, he knows the Packers very well from his time in Detroit, and he's got the weapons around him that he didn't have before. So, yeah, there's a lot of pressure on him. I think he said it himself, but I think they can absolutely beat the Packers. They've got the tools as long as the defense steps up. Jalen Ramsey against Devontae Adams in the playoffs is a fantastic
matchup.
That's something you have to be excited about. I think they match up very well. If they can get past the Buccaneers with that playoff mojo that Tom Brady sprinkles out of his hair, I think they can do it.
All right. Well, that's a question I wanted to ask. Is I just watching him last night. It was good. It made me feel good for him. And we not only did we witness history with that game, but we witnessed history because it was a Monday Night Football playoff game.
Yeah.
Never in the history of the NFL. So it was really cool to see that and to finally see some Monday Night Football. Hopefully they'll continue to do it. I don't know if they will or not, but these games are going to be good. I'm excited. I'm still, you know what? I think the Bills have a way to win it all though this year. I really do.
Yeah. I think they have. If they get past Kansas City, I think because Kansas City's it's a mental block for them also.
Yeah.
I think if they can get past Kansas City, I think they're a way better matchup to the Bengals and or the Titans. I think they match up a lot better against those two teams, even though Tennessee beat them earlier in the season and exposed that defense. But I still think they match up much better with them. Kansas City, I think, is the problem that they have to overcome. But if they do, the path to me is still Buccaneers, Bills.
Yeah. It runs through Tom Brady, and it will until he's done. All right, what are we looking for this weekend?
Well, to me, I'd like to see how these defenses pressure these quarterbacks. Can the Bills' defensive line put enough pressure on Mahomes to make him uncomfortable? Same thing with the 49ers defense against Aaron Rodgers.
Yeah.
Nothing really seems to fluster that guy, but if you can get pressure up the middle, it'll fluster him eventually. Get those hits on him. And then with the Buccaneers too, if the Rams can get pressure up the middle, so I'm looking at Aaron Donald playing a lot on the tackle spot instead of the end spot, because I'd like to move him around a little bit. If they get pressure up the middle, use Von Miller really strategically, then I think these superstar quarterbacks are going to have a long day, and it could be a changing of the guard between Josh Allen and Burrow and stuff like that.
How much film are the Rams watching of the Saints and the Bucks?
That's exactly that's a great point. That's exactly what they're watching. They're watching, if they're smart, they're watching, Leslie Frazier's watching, defense coordinator for the Rams is watching the Saints defense, and he's also watching the Miami Dolphins defense against Tom Brady from back in the day. And if they can, what the Saints defense does and what the Dolphins defense did back in the day was they gave Tom Brady the same look every single time. And Tom Brady even admitted this. Give him the same look, and then at the snap, adjust.
Yeah.
And Tom Brady doesn't like that. And then also, Tom Brady hates in-your-face pressure. And he's not a mobile quarterback. So if they can do those two things successfully, they'll be successful. Now, look, it's going to be a long day. That defense is going to be tired. That defensive line is going to be wore out after this game. But if you want to win, that's what you got to do.
Yeah, I agree. All right, well, I'm looking to say, were these guys that won so big? Is that something they continue on? Is that the theme of this playoff? We're just going to destroy everybody we play, or was this something that was a one-time thing and we're getting ready to be? I like how you said it. They either come in with hairs on, both teams come in with their hairs on fire, or they both kind of, or they're both overconfident and they kind of mess up. So I think for me the two best matchups are probably both in the AFC this week. Mm-hmm. I think the Bengals and the Titans and the Bills and the Chiefs are the ones that are just probably the best matchups. But good luck to Matt Stafford again. Good luck to the Bengals. All right. Well, this has been Chalk Talk. We will see you next Tuesday with we'll be talking about the NFC and the AFC championship for sure. Yeah. And then who goes to the Super Bowl. So we got a few more weeks, guys. Stick with us. And we'll see you next Tuesday.
God bless.
See you, buddy. Great show.